Hi guys, it's Chris, and today I'm going to be talking about why my favorite cheese, Brie, could potentially go extinct. Now, Brie is one of my favorite cheeses because it's so delicious, right? It's so creamy, it's really great with sandwiches, and I also like a version of Brie where truffle is placed in between the layers. It's just amazing. What's so unique about Brie? Compared to other variations of soft cheese, Brie has a specific flavor, right? And that flavor is created because fungus called penicillium is added to the cheese during the beginning cheese making process. Brie is also, it is made with such craftsmanship and such love and care. It takes, about 2 months to get from your milk to the final product because it goes through a lot of processes of aging, of, flipping. So it's not so straightforward to make Brie compared to other cheeses. And yet today, Brie is at risk of dying out. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about what is the problem with Brie, what is the bigger issue of a food system, and what we can do about it. The issue with Brie here is that it is made to become so uniform because everybody in the world loves Brie. They love this invention from France. So everybody wants to have the same uniformity for Brie to always taste the same. So this culture that is being put into Brie, penicillium, is a type of fungus, and the way that it's being produced today is that it is cloned. In the wild, traditional strains of fungus, they reproduce sexually, which means that they find their own mate, if you like it, to put it simply, right? And there's so much diversity. There are different species and varieties of them, but yet in our commercial production setting, they are bred to be made commercially. They're bred to be as easy to use and replicated, and they're replicated over and over again. So this is great. This is like good for efficiency. You're gonna get the same product no matter where in the world you are. But however, this is also a growing threat. Now, potentially there are two main issues that Brie is going to face. One is facing changes in environment. So we are facing climate change, like no doubt about that. So temperatures are going more extreme. They're going to be warmer, they're going to be colder in different places. Humidity is going to go up in some places. So these environmental factors could affect places that make Brie that relies on natural environment, natural cooling, natural heating, right? So if Brie is meant to be held at a certain temperature and the new normal would be like 2 degrees higher, that could potentially kill the fungus. Okay, so that's the first issue. The second issue is that due to this cloning, Brie could be very, very susceptible to diseases and pathogens, right? So there could be some mutations that over time Brie might not be able to react to these new pathogens or mutations, and yeah, it could very easily die out because it doesn't have that diversity, that resilience, and natural strength that a wild strain might have, right? Because it's just so fragile. So these are the two main issues why Brie could potentially die. So people are saying that, well, we have to do something about it. So research is being done to find potentially strains that could replace or be an alternative to the existing strains, but it's not so easy. It has not found commercial success yet for the practical reasons. This particular fungus has been so successful this whole time, right? So what can we do about it? We can definitely explore getting used to more diversity in terms of what we eat in general, right? So for Brie, perhaps we do need to explore using some wild strains. We might need to accept that Brie could come in different forms in the future. There might not just be a standard taste, and there might be slight differences in every batch of Brie, especially if you're using more wild strains, and just moving towards a less uniform system in the food system in general. Now, I want to talk about how this has actually happened multiple times before in different products, in our food system. So, for example, you might have heard of the Great Irish Potato Famine. This happened in the 1840s to 1850s. So there was a particular species of potato called the lumper, and there was a pathogen called it's a Phytoria festans. Basically, it's a mold that causes blight, because the whole of Ireland was mainly depending on this particular variety of potatoes to feed them for their main calories. So once this specific variety had a crop failure, everything died. And so that was a big issue. It also happened with the grass banana in the early 20th century. The coffee rust that is still ongoing. There's a specific fungus that causes rust, and coffee plants are suffering big time. Now even Cavendish bananas are also facing this threat. So over and over, when humanity tries to make things uniform, that particular species loses its own strength, its own will to adapt, to survive, because we are reliant on humans to help them propagate and clone. So this is a very, very big issue. And I think what we do need to do about it is similar to what we're talking about in Brie, is that we just need to start getting used to more diversity. We need to start getting the idea of everything having to be uniform, everything having to taste like perfectly, exactly the same, out of our heads, you know. And we need to embrace this in terms of accepting that, you know, it's going to be very interesting flavors, interesting textures that might come out of it. You know, one good example is natural wine. So natural wine is wine that has been fermented, but it's not been done using the commercial way. So there is a little bit of open to the environment. So every batch of wine will taste slightly different based on what the environment is like, how the processes are being done. And overall, this is what I feel like industrial farming, industrial food production has gone down a path where the more and more efficient we are trying to become, the more and more at risk we are in the system potentially collapsing. So what we need to do, if we want to save our cheeses, if we want to save our bananas, we do have to start thinking about accepting diversity. And it also means that on the production side, people who do creation of these species and varieties, they do need to start working on different species and varieties that can adapt to different environments. Ultimately, don't put all your eggs in one basket and let's accept the whole variety of types of food, flavors, textures, and let's hope that Brie can be saved, and let's potentially accept that there would be new and interesting varieties of Brie that will be coming up in the future.